Hello, we are Group 6, and today we are going to talk about international students learning in American. There are three parts: the differences in study environment between international students' schools and American students' schools, the difference in learning styles between international students, and because we focus most on China, the third part is another country's example of the differences. First, we are going to talk about three main differences in learning style. Surface approaches vs critical thinking. Asian students tend to receive lecture content from the instructor and the textbook, commit it to memory through recitation and doing exercise, and demonstrate learning by reporting the information back to the teacher, and they will never try to challenge the professor. While American students tend to negotiate meaning, challenge concepts, or grapple with information as a means of understanding it deeply. Individual study vs group study or class discussion. Asian students prefer to study by themselves, which means they are more efficient in individual study. They search resources, read books, and write paper or project all by their own and rarely ask their peers for questions. However, American students are used to solve problems in groups and consider their peers' view as important advice. Asian students often cannot adapt this kind of learning style since they do not know how to communicate with their group members. Dependent vs independent. Asian students are more passive. They are grown in countries that teachers are in charge of classroom interaction and do not expect their students to participate or speak without their permission, and students' learning situations are in teachers' control. If you do not do the homework, they will ask you to do it. If you score decline, they will discuss with you and help you with additional tutorship. While in America, asking questions is the normal thing in class, and if you have questions, you can even interrupt the professor, and you have to arrange your study independently since the professor will not care about your grades and will not remind you to do the work separately. Then I want to introduce the differences between the study environments, and there are two types of differences: the systems difference and the teaching with difference. And I am almost based on the differences between Chinese school and the US school. First, I want to introduce the systems difference. In China, we must be divided into different classes after we attend school, and then in the rest of the college life, the classmates will attend many activities together. For example, the university games, but we do not have a fixed class here, and we just go to the different class, depending on our choice of course, and we can attend activities freely. Then we can study more freely here. We can choose all the courses we want to study, and if we think we no longer want to take on one course, we can drop that course. And also, students can change the major freely here, while students are not allowed to do that in China. Then, in China, we have the private study class. The time is fixed, and every student must attend the class. But in US, we can choose the study time. Students in a US university have more choices of course. For example, we have the taekwondo course and the climbing course here, but we don't have these types of course in China. And this is just because that the US university is more care about the comprehensive development. But in China, most schools think these courses may not very necessary to students. Also, the teaching way in US is totally different from in China, and we can see this difference on the class content, the mode of the class, and what decides the grade. Firstly, Chinese classes are depend most on the textbooks, and students can learn all the things from the books by themselves without listening to the teachers. However, in the US, teachers sometimes teach students some contents which are not covered in the books. For example, in my biology class, my instructor did not ask us to buy the book, and she just made her own PowerPoint to teach us. Then the mode of the class is different. In China, students just can have the class in the classroom and it is the main way to study. But in the US, teachers may choose some other ways to teach students. For example, they may teach students online and they may let students attend some lectures and experiments after class. And this can help students to understand the course more deeply. Finally, the way to decide the total grade of one student is also different. In China, the test score is the most important thing, but in the US, the yearly performance is the most important thing. The yearly performance includes the homework paper participation. This score have a large proportion of the total score, and it is great that some students may work hard in the normal time, but failure to perform well in the text. And also, this way to decide the grade can encourage students to always work hard.
As we from different countries, those we both experience the new student life, it might be different as we can want to mention it based on China. I will give another example about my own country. I will talk about the difference of the measures and the examinations in Brazil. In Brazil, the professor does not say what material will be on the exam, and always the exam is cumulative. In America, the professor always says which material the student needs to study, sometimes give the exercise very similar before the exam. So this difference between the exams requires that the student study in a different way. Now I will talk about the difference between American and Brazilian way to get in a university. In Brazil, we do not have GPA, and your average in the high school doesn't count to get in a university. You have to do only one exam when you graduate from high school. This exam is called as vestibular, and based on the score of the vestibular, you can choose which major or university you want to get in. The most difference in the American way is that your grade in high school doesn't count for choose your major or university. Difference between majors. In United States, you have several majors, and the student can also start a university without having your major defined. However, in Brazil, just exist the traditional majors, like engineering, medical, biology, history, and the students, before taking the vestibular, have to know for each course they want to apply. Conclusion. As a conclusion, there are a lot of differences between the U.S. university and the international university, and every country has its own differences. However, not matter what the differences are, we all must do a lot to suit the new environment, to make some native friends, and keep the positive attitude are some of the good methods. We choose the U.S. university is just because we believe you can learn a lot here. So though the process of suiting the new environment might be a little hard, I hope we all can adapt to the environment well and be success in both our life and study. Thank you.